Good morning. Welcome to B Cube Sunday morning. It is a fine day over here at B Cube Press. I got my puppy dogs are here trying to tell me that they're not getting proper attention, and that's okay because you guys are my focus for now. But I get to turn you all over to the tender mercies of Brenda and Phyl while they welcome their two incredible guests, and that is Diana Pharaoh Francis and Devon Monk. The
Got it right.
Yay!
all of whom are, they're iconic members of Northwest science fiction and fandom, and national. The you guys have been writing for years, and it's been a wonderful joy. The products. I still have a book that I got off of a Devon something like 20 years ago. That sets up on my shelf. But anyway, it's not about the day is not about my shelves. Today is about Sunday brunch. So Phyllis and Brenda, I defer to you while I just what was that?
A computer.
Okay, well I disappear. Sorry, the whole screen went blank on me, and it was like, oh no, this is not a good day for that. But it's a good day to let you guys take over while I fade.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, good morning, everybody. I set this up, so I'm going to start things rolling. Diana has been a good friend for many, many, many years. And through her, I met Devon. And though I don't know her as well, I greatly appreciate her presence this morning. And so we have a lot of things to talk about. First off, I'd like to know what everybody's working on. So we'll start with Brenda and then move down my screen to Diana and then over to Devon. Keep things going clockwise.
Not widdershins, huh?
Right. I do too much of that in my life, and it shows.
Well, I have a book out last month. The 12th Marion Halcombe novel is out, and I swear this is the last one. Every book in this, I had not planned to write 12 volumes, but every book in the series, it seemed to draw another one out. And for a long time, I would just write them and said, I'll worry about publishing and marketing later. And about 8 years in, I thought, wait, something must be done. But this is, I swear to Jesus, the last one. 12 is a good number for a series, looks good on shelves. You can pump them out in trilogies, little sets. A good number, 12 is a good number. So I'm going to stop, swear to God. And instead, we'll put a different novel out in April of this year. And it is a first contact novel, but it's about sharks and rock and roll. It is titled His Salakian Majesty Requests. And I told my cover artist I wanted the cover to look as much as a Rolling Stones cover as possible. You remember their Satanic Majesty's Request. It came out in the 70s. So this novel is about sharks, drugs, and rock and roll.
I love that.
Okay, and Diana.
I feel like Brenda was protesting too much with the 12 volumes. Like, I swear it's going to be 12, and then the next thing we'll know it'll be. She's like, yeah, well, okay.
Okay.
Let's see. I have been working on finishing a novel that's kind of a contemporary alternate Earth fantasy romance thing. The romance kind of took over, so it's more romantic than not. And then I've got to work on plotting out some books and getting them on the road. I want to reissue my Horngate books now that I have the rights back, and I want to write a new novella in that series and see if I want to keep going. And then I'm gonna I owe my editor a book, so I'm gonna write another in the Witch or the Magic Fall series, which is kind of a branch off of the Horngate books. So that's what I'm gonna be working on.
What? And Devon.
I had book 4 in the Souls of the Road series come out, which is a tie-in to my Ordinary Magic light urban fantasy. And that's going to be a 6-book series, and another book will come out later in the year in that series. But what I'm working on right now is a new series. Why is the new series? They always just draw me like candy. It's scary. It feels like it'll be so much more fun and easier somehow, you know. But I'm going to start a new series, and they're going to lean toward kind of cozy urban fantasy or cozy fantasy with mystery, very clear cozy mystery kind of setting too. So I'm hoping the first one will come out in May, and then the next one's just monthly after that with a couple months in between. But like May, the idea is May, June, and July. We'll see if I can do it. And
You haven't written these things yet?
no, but you know, it's eternal. That's what I'm saying. So I'm working on. They're going to be, you know, shorter because they're kind of a cozy mystery style, and they're going to be set in my Ordinary Magic land, which is in Ordinary Oregon. It's a little cozy beach town where there are monsters and magic, and the gods go on vacation over there. So it's a great, fun little town to put some mysteries in, and that's what I'm working on, at least for the first half of this year.
And you know the setting and the setup already, and so it's easier to do than if you're creating Middle Earth out of nothing. You know, the
exactly.
3
I've got the setting, got the characters. We know all the quirky people already, so now we just roll these stories and see how they go.
That is a much easier than than how you could have done it.
I'm hoping so.
Well, you know a deadline does get you moving, but on the other hand, there's a pressure to them, and so. In fact, that just shows you how some people work. I think some people really need the deadline to get them in motion and get it done.
And I'm lucky in that I'm doing this indie published. So, you know, if I blow a deadline, that's on me, and I'm the one who's going to deal with the fallout. I'm not, you know, on a New York publisher's timeline or anything like that. So, you know, there's a little grace there. I'm going to try not to tell myself that, but you know, there's a little grace there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And last time I was on, I was really pushing the book that Bob posted a link to on the Book View Cafe. It's called Family Bedrock. It was my 50th book.
Ooh, what an anniversary.
Yeah. And it's Family Bedrock. It's in the same world as my Tess Nunquire books, but it's a different family. Tessa's story is done, but she's still influenced this particular one. And then in March, I have The Barefoot Sheriff, which is Weird West. It is totally different from anything I have ever written. And it was a total blast, even though I was on the phone and email to Joyce Reynolds Ward and Sarah Muller and Maya Bonhoff about horses, because there's a lot of horses.
And when is this coming out?
It will be out March 11th.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
We're cooking this year, 2025.
Yeah. And then I'm doing a bunch of reprints. But for right now, I have gone back into my Cozy Mystery series, The Whistling River Lodge. This would be book number 5. 9 Nutcrackers Whistling.
9 Nutcrackers.
Right. And there's nutcrackers, and there's ballet dancers, and there's snow because it's Mount Hood and it's set at Christmas. So I'd really, really like to have it out by Christmas, but I'm only a third of the way into it. So I'm not promising anything.
Well, but on the other hand, if you didn't make this Christmas does come every year, and we can, whenever it does come out, we can shill it in December from here until the heat death of the universe, roughly. Just like Hallmark shows, there's a season.
Christmas in July.
Yeah, Tim and I actually took down the Christmas tree yesterday, so the muse is not there. But I've got little elves and red candles and stuff here in the office if I need inspiration. So
let
does
me know if you want to talk sometime. We went to a production of the Nutcracker at the Houston Ballet, which is the first Nutcracker I've actually gone through. My grandson.
Houston. I actually mentioned the Houston Ballet. One of my characters comes from there.
Okay, well, pump me about it later. I don't want to do it here because I want to talk to Devon and Diana. But later on, if you want to, pump me about it. I took my grandson, who was kind of overwhelmed.
Yeah. Well, there was, I think it was 1973. I did 14 performances of the Nutcracker in 11 days and with a 6-month-old child.
Goodness.
So, as far as the Nutcracker goes, I'm well versed. So anyway, I asked these two ladies to come on, partly because, we're all 4 of us are traditionally published and transitioning into self-publishing or small press. And it's kind of a life crisis to make that decision. So, Devon, Diana, what prompted you to do this?
It's control, right?
Right.
Having control. And it's, well, it's a lot of things for me. It's having the control over the product and being able to write what I want to write. But I ran into the issue of where my agent didn't want to send she was gate guarding, and she didn't want to send stuff out because she didn't like it or it was whatever. And the one of the books that happened with is a book I really love, and that's Putting the Fun in Funeral, which is, a fun book.
It's such a good book.
And remind me to tell you later on. I can tell you where you should run an ad, okay?
Okay.
There's a whole magazine for the industry. I used to work for it.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Later on, we'll talk. Email me.
Good. So, yeah, she didn't want to send it, and so she wouldn't. And so I couldn't even get it out to the pub editors because she just didn't want to. She said it was triggering to her, and I just... So I had some issues with that. And then I was tired of not getting paid very much for the books, It was what, 80, well, depending on the copy price, it wasn't very much. It was less than $1 a book. It was very low, right? And I was also tired of they let you do a series for so long, and then they decide, I don't want to do it anymore, and then you're off. And what if you still want to pursue the series into multiple books? So for me, it was, I wanted more ability to write what I care about and what I find fun. And yeah, I'm kind of snarky and I'm kind of swear a lot, and there's violence. They didn't have problems with my violence, but they had problems with some of the other stuff, I guess. So I just, it's more empowering and fun to be able to publish independently, and I'm still putting out what I think is good work. It's just under my control, and I still get editors, and I still do a good cover and all of that. It's just now on me to get that done rather than them.
Understandable.
Yeah. And Devon, what prompted you to make the transition?
I came out of short fiction back when they told you write a lot of short fiction, sell a lot of short fiction, it'll build up your name. And then when you pitch a book to New York, they'll have this kind of history behind you. So I did that route. Although my agent told me, oh no, I never told them that you wrote short stories when she sold my first book. So it wasn't very helpful all those years, but it was good practice. But when I got into New York, I had written a different book, but what I sold was urban fantasy, and it was very hot back then. And so I did several series. I did a weird Western, steampunk weird Western, and, a kind of a sci-fi book. So I did several series. And then the mergers started happening in Penguin Random House. And that was right when ebooks sort of took off from being just sort of a hobby thing to something that people were really making good books in. They were able to make, to publish them well, to get them out to all of the retailers, to have good covers, and all that was really starting to happen about 2014, 2013. And that's about when Penguin Random House, at least, basically narrowed down their mass market line to almost nothing, to where they didn't really want to do new releases in mass market. And I was in mass market. They were instead kind of going toward big hardback deals or going straight to ebook and that those kinds of deals or trade. And I did pitch a hardback deal to my editor, and she wanted it, honestly. But at that time, I took a moment and I sat back and I thought, do I want to be on this road with my career for the rest of my life? Do I want to follow these deadlines, get this amount of money, lose my rights? And I gotta say, that's the thing that probably bothers me the most, is I want to keep rights to my intellectual property because it's my intellectual property. And I understand you just sell little bits of it, like just the right to, to have a story in an anthology. I'm fine with that. Or just the rights to, have a story be in this country. But they started asking for a lot more rights, and they were offering less money, and they were canceling series. One of my series got, chopped up, and I'm like, okay, I think this is the time to jump and try indie publishing, self-publishing, which I'd seen a lot of writers do and do well. And I was terrified. That's a terrifying thing. It's like tightrope and no net. And I thought, but I don't have my editor. I don't have my copy readers, copy editors. I don't have my proofers. I don't have, how do I know what the right cover is to put on for the market? I don't have a cover team. Of course, PR, as far as marketing and stuff, I don't think New York ever really rose to that challenge, I guess I could say. So I wasn't so much worried about that part, but all the rest of the things that went behind it felt like so much to take on. And and I was absolutely terrified. So I put out, a tie-in to a tie-in. Don't do that, people. No, that's all I gotta say. But then I fell into my ordinary Oregon books, my ordinary magic series, which I love. And I kind of hit my groove, and I thought, I love this. I love indie publishing. And I do have an agent, and she handles things that like I am not going to want to pick up, like foreign rights, audio rights, those kinds of things. So I am still, selling off little pieces of the story to different rights. But I love like Diana said, the freedom of pursuing whichever story I want to pursue, get it out there, build it up how I want to, how fast or how slow, make those connections with readers, and really try to be present for that. I love that.
Yeah.
I like particular. Go ahead.
Part of it we all hate, which is the marketing part. The big trad publishers aren't really doing anyway, so we would have hated it with them. We'll hate it for ourselves.
Right. Exactly. And it allows you to pursue the things that you want to write. And I am not the kind of person who can plan God knows, who can plan a series in advance. Every single, I can write 12 volumes, but I have no idea what I'm doing. And you can't pitch it to a New York conglomerate in that way. They don't want you to hear, well, I'm just going to head over to the wild blue yonder and flap my wings, and I know it'll work out. But you can't tell the suits that. Accounting, the budget guys, they will not hear that.
Yeah, well, that's the thing about the big publishers is the bean counters kind of took over, and the editors stopped having nearly as much power, so they couldn't develop writers as well or develop.
They're not interested. They're not interested in the long development of, let us say, Stephen King into a major presence in the horror genre. If he had just rolled up with something early, and they would not be. They're not interested in developing a writer over time. They want you to be a hit right out the gate and to make shit tons of money, because that's what they want. And if you decide suddenly to switch over and to write, I don't know what Stephen King could write, Regency romance. If Stephen King said, I think I would like to take Jane Austen on and show her how it works, they would have said, Steve, that's not going to make money the way Razor Blades and Blood will make you money.
not for his brand, right? For
Right.
they
Right.
wanted
I mean,
to
you
sell
know,
his
you
work.
you maybe would start a pseudonym, and frankly, if I were Stephen King wanting to do Jane Austen, I would do that. But the suits are not going to play ball with you on this, and so essentially you're locked into a single track,
Yeah.
your single hit track of, you know, Razor Blades or whatever it is.
Yeah. The last conversation I had with my New York editor,
Mhm.
she explained to me that their entire marketing system was geared toward hardback
Mhm.
print books.
Mhm.
And if the marketing committee thought the author could make more money in ebook, they wouldn't take it on.
Mhm. That's not where they're at.
Yeah, so it would have been the third book in a trilogy was rejected because, quote, I could make more money in ebook.
And
I think there's
Well, then privately she told me, get out now. And
good
then
move.
30 days later, that publishing company merged with another one and she retired. So there was a subtext to that conversation. But I still have 2 books with that publisher. They haven't reached the 7-year contract moment yet. But they're coming back to me as soon as they possibly can.
At least you had a sundown clause, because to get mine back, it was selling below a certain threshold, and that included ebooks. And of course, ebooks are passive. Once they're up for publishers, they just sell or whatever, and then they can drop them onto on sale if they
Right.
want. And then you're because the threshold was something like 200 copies. And so, I mean, I was doing the thing where I wasn't talking about those books. I was taking them off my website. I was doing everything I could to not have them sell.
Yeah. And so you needed to kill the book so you could resurrect it elsewhere.
That is so crazy, man.
It is.
Isn't it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh
my God.
I think I've gotten 3 of my series back now, but I have one more that I have like 7 of the 9 books back.
Mm-hmm. What are you going to do with 7 out of 9?
It's just
So well, the 2 books that Daw still has are my Walk the Wild series, and different pen name, a different world. It's a historical fantasy, but it's very obviously my book, you know, just from the voice and whatnot. But the first one came out 5 years ago, and I have a 7-year clause.
that's nice clause.
Yeah, but 2 years is not. 2 years will pass pretty fast.
Oh yeah.
We'll keep you busy.
Yeah. Well, in the meantime, you know, I got 20 titles back all at once.
That's nice.
And Brenda proofread, what was it, 7 dragon books?
I want to say it was 10, but then I had to stop because my eyeballs were spinning in my head. But I will come back in and do another few if you can find sort of a small chunk.
Yeah. Do you want dragon books or contemporary fantasy?
Why don't we discuss this later? I don't think I need another coffee to think about it.
Yeah. So anyway, so but those 2 books are still making some money, not great big gobs of it, but they're still making some money at Daw.
I mean, and I think that's the thing that there's a certain amount of we write books for love because we love what we do, and some people, editors, don't really think you have to make that much money off of it. They make far more on a book than we do on our own book.
Publisher, I think editors maybe.
Yeah,
editors might be on our side, but I do think
but yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's they pay you as little money as they can, and then if your book takes off, yay, you make some money, but they make far more. But the point is that's not a living wage, right? No. And the way it's paid out is not as a living wage,
right? So, twice a year.
And if you really wanted to make money with the book, what you have to do is to sell it like to Hollywood, and then you get a good example is the Enola Holmes books by you know, if you can do that, then suddenly you do have real money. But paper books don't make you enough to live on, mostly.
And so yeah, you're in a situation where at least if you're writing for yourself, if you're doing indie publishing, you are making more money. You may not be making, again, movie money, but you're making more money, and you can and you have control. Like if it's not selling, you can think about, I'm going to change the cover. I mean, I've never had a publisher even consider changing a cover.
Of course not.
Right. And you can put it on sale when you feel the need, not 6 months afterwards.
Right. You can change the blurbs. You can do marketing runs with them. You can, there's a variety of things that you can do, and that often publishers aren't willing to do. So that's one of the things that makes this work. One of the difficulties, of course, is, as you guys were talking about earlier, and Devon has some self-imposed deadlines, is making deadlines and meeting your own deadlines and making sure that you do that. That's I mean, the past couple of years for me have been eaten up in many parts by being the trustee of my father-in-law's estate, and before that, trying to get him care and all that. And so that eats your brain when you have this external deadline. It's like, okay, I can't do that stuff. I'm going to do my writing. But when it's yours and you're there, it's much harder to say, I can't do that stuff. That stuff crowds in and says, I need it to be done now.
Yeah.
So that's one of the difficulties. And of course, I know Devon's been having shorter writing time because she has a granddaughter who is that you help care for.
Right. Yeah, I do a lot of childcare now, which has pushed my actual writing hours back to like part-time, which I don't love. I mean, I love her, but don't love the part-time hours. So it's really making me reassess how I come to writing, and when I do have the time to do it, when I have the hour or whatever, how am I going to hit that? Right. And it's taking me back to the old days when I was, trying to figure that out when I was writing novels for New York. How do you hit those deadlines? Because I'd written like maybe 4 novels before I actually sold a novel to New York. Been writing for like, I don't know, 12, 15 years. It's not like it was like the first thing I wrote, but like I wasn't super experienced in novels. And so, I had to build, how do I write novels in this amount of time? I'm having to redo that again at this part of my life where I'm back to quite a lot of childcare time and a lot less writing time. So it's been an interesting journey. And I'm a lot more tired now than I was back then. I had more energy when I was younger.
To have grandchildren in another city.
Yeah, another state, far away.
They're right, just blocks away, people. They're
and that's a blessing too. But it's encouraging to think, and this is where it's really nice. A lot of other writers have done this. A lot of writers have self-published, which is what's nice about Bookview Cafe. You're surrounded by people who know how this used to work. And even writing with very short time on a deadline, you have a big historical bunch of people who have done this, people who have held major full-time jobs that, made them their day job, but they wrote between the hours of 5 a.m. and 8 a.m. every day.
Yeah, well, I mean, I used to have, your traditional job. I was teaching at a university for a long time, actually. And it was kind of toxic there. So, and we ended up moving away from there and moving to Oregon, where I decided to do more full-time. And then I ended up doing part-time teaching because, I do love teaching. And in some ways it's that structure of having another job helps you structure your time.
Right.
Well. In some ways, it having that other job can suck the energy out of you, right? Yeah. And childcare can suck the energy right out of you. And so that's the other thing, figuring out how to balance the life stuff, whether that's job or whether that's
personal
family, or whether that's whatever is out there that you're doing with writing. And I have personally a difficulty. I have a personal problem where I feel like if I am not doing constructive things, then I'm lazy, and then I berate myself. It has to do with various things. Me and my therapist are working on it, but yeah, I feel lazy. So I also don't turn off very well. So I don't get rest or breaks because I don't give them to myself. So I may stop writing at a certain time and then I have dinner or whatever, but then into the evening I'm either writing or doing writing relating stuff or doing something. And in order for this is the dumbest thing you'll ever hear, but in order for me to willingly take a break, I end up keeping myself busy with stupid stuff that doesn't make me feel relaxed and doesn't contribute anything, but it makes me feel busy so I don't feel lazy, right? So it might be doom scrolling or whatever. And so that's the other part of the balance stuff, is trying to say, okay, you can stop. It's time. You can be off the clock. That's been my difficulty of ever. That's just been ever.
That's the problem of being self-employed, the people who are running their own business, and it can, if you do it 24/7, it's a temptation to do that. There's no one stopping you saying, the cleaning people want to clean the office. Could you go home?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, and that's part of the indie writing life. I mean, I guess it's even the writing life if you're writing for traditional publishing too. You have to find those structures that create job and life. And I think that's, how many years have I heard people say it's all about work-life balance? And
what is that? What is that?
I mean, I haven't gotten there yet. I'm definitely aiming more toward it, because the other thing that, when you start getting to be like my age, is you start thinking about how many more years do I have left? What do I want to write in those years? What do I want to do in those years? Right. So I really do want to keep my eye on that work-life balance, but books will always be a part of it for me.
Yeah. Right. One thing that helped me tremendously when I really settled into being independent was that I can work on my own stuff, mostly in the morning, but sometimes in the afternoon. But after dinner, anything I do has to be someone else's. That's when I do my critiquing, proofreading for somebody else, or editing, reading for one of Bob's anthologies, whatever. It's not my stuff. If I'm working on my own books after dinner, I write in my head all night long and I don't get any rest.
Where do you put your admin stuff? Like, you want to post something on social media, or you want to talk to your cover designer? Do you do that in your morning hours, or do you do that in your evening hours? Like, not the actual writing.
Yeah, I tend to do that first thing in the morning. Before I actually start writing for the day, and then it's done and I don't have to worry about it. That's a big thing. But another thing, some people on this forum have noticed, I rarely get dressed before noon. Because if I am wearing people clothes, I have no excuse to sit home. I can go out.
Yeah, whereas in your pajamas, you're sort of stuck.
Yeah, you have to go do things before you can go out. So you sit and write anyway. This morning, I actually got enough organized that I put on a sweatshirt over my nightgown. So you aren't getting my bathrobe. But I realized after the fact that I just recorded a reading for the Bookview Cafe, and I had my bathrobe on because it was 9 o'clock in the morning. I bundled it up so it looked more like a turtleneck sweater. But shut up, Bob. Yeah. So anyway, back, scrolling back through the questions. Susan Omberg Caro asked a question about the Nutcracker. We've done enough writing. We can talk research. And she asked about their local company reworks the ballet every year, new costumes and new choreography. If you see the same, if you don't do that, then it's the same production every year after year. Changing choreography and costumes takes money and work and creativity. And it depends, do you have a director / choreographer who's willing to dig deep to change the steps every year? Do you have the money to invest in new costumes, or you just like replace one numbers costume each year because that's cheaper? And they should last several years anyway. So it really depends on your company as to what you're going to go see every year.
And if you keep on spinning the costumes and the sets out, they're expensive, but that means that if you spread it out, you can spend more money than you can just this one year.
Mm-hmm.
You can spend the money to have a really elaborate, let us say, drawing room furniture and scenery, because it costs so much to do. And then by the time it's like accumulating a suite of tools or a wardrobe. By the time I have my full wardrobe, all the, then maybe I want to keep it going for a while.
Yeah. And, on a 10-year cycle, after 10 years, one set of costumes is looking a little threadbare that even the audience can notice. It's time to replace that one set of costumes.
Yeah, all
and
of
then the next year
or whatever they are.
Set, so you spread out the cost of renovations.
Right.
And there's somebody, Cheryl Alexander has a website of cemetery photos for you, Brenda.
Nice.
And then there's, having a full-time job, which is highly stressful, really sucks on your time.
The thing to do is to have the right kind of full-time job.
Yeah.
If you're, for instance, an emergency room nurse, that really sucks a lot of juice out of you.
Mm-hmm.
Who is it? It wasn't Ernest Hemingway. It was like William Faulkner. He started out being a janitor somewhere in a university in the South. And, changing light bulbs and pushing a broom is really very calming. You can think a lot about about As I Lay Dying or, The Reavers or whatever it is while you're doing that. So you have to pick the right kind of job, if you can, for yourself, if you're going to write on the side. Academics are particularly good at this. And the number of writers who were university professors is very, very large because they get the summer off. Tolkien, C.S. Lewis, not John Scalzi, but I think Charles Sheffield was an engineer, but like Isaac Asimov, all those people. It's really easier to have certain kinds of jobs, and particularly, and some of them, even feed into your writing very well. All the engineers or researchers who are fiction writers. So pick the right kind of job. Don't pick one that'll like suck your soul right out.
Yeah. I can't, his name escapes me at the moment, but a Canadian writer who's relatively well known for many years worked as a night watchman.
Oh, that is a great job.
And so he'd spend his, the time he'd make his patrols. Whenever.
Yeah. And you sit there and watch these screens where nobody's walking by in hallways.
Right. And so that.
And they're quiet and they leave you alone and there's nobody.
Wait, right. I suddenly want a night watchman job.
My son got his first job as a night watchman at a data farm. And that means that essentially what he was doing, he wasn't even looking for people because you could not move those computers without a forklift. But his job was to watch for fire. Because even if you have like smoke alarms and that kind of thing, it takes a human being to look and say, that corridor is kind of foggy and there should not be fog on an inside corridor. And you go in and you smell the smoke and you yell for help. And that means Amazon does not crash tonight. And he actually did do this. He saved, the whole internet. But you need a human being to do that. And what that meant is they paid him to sit for hours and hours in the dark. And stupidly, he caught up with TV shows. I said, darling, you should write a fantasy trilogy. You have the time.
Yeah. So anyway, somebody else says, Andrew Lucas had a similar opportunity as an operator on a graveyard shift with TEHG Telephone Company.
Oh yeah, you're there for to cover in case the world ends, but mostly it doesn't.
Right.
Most nights it doesn't. Most nights the world doesn't end.
Well, if it does, you got other problems anyway, right?
Yeah. And Diana, I know you have 2 newly adult children.
Yeah.
But
out of the nest.
Yeah. Well, my daughter is going to the local community college, and she's still home. And my son is graduated. He's a chemical engineer up in Portland, and he's newly married. Well, it's about almost a year now that he's been married. So he's out and doing his thing, and
very good.
Yeah, but anyway, over the internet, we've been communicating, through the time that your kids were adolescents and teenagers, and you as a family did a lot of geocaching.
Yeah.
Have you used any of that in your books?
Less the actual caching and more the so I have aphantasia, right? Which means I have no ability to see things in my mind's eye. If I close my eyes and you tell me to imagine something, I can't. It just is not there. So when we would go out caching, we'd go to all kinds of places we never would have gone to had we not been caching. And so in a lot of those places, I was doing the mental note-taking thing for descriptions and things like that. And that has most definitely turned up in books for sure. Whether it's animals, whether it's landscape, whether it's buildings or anything else like that, it kind of makes me take more note in some ways. I do that anyway because, like I said, it's not in my head. I can't imagine it. I can't bring up that stuff in my brain, and I can take pictures, but I never go back and look at the pictures. I just don't. I mean, I have so many pictures that I just rarely go back and look at. It's just
my husband's the same way. And Devon, what do you do for a hobby?
I'm a knitter. That's probably my.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Tell me more. Look, I'll show you something. I am knitting this right now. It is a baby blanket.
Lovely.
Yeah, no, I used to teach knitting in Fairfax County, Virginia, and I'm pretty darn good.
Oh, so, wow.
But look behind me. Do you see all those bins?
I do.
Darn.
Oh, that's nothing.
Yes.
Oh, you should see my stash.
Yeah, no. I put it in bins. I put it in bins when I moved, and this is an organizational thing, and I make a specific effort. I have sworn I will never get more yarn that will fit into this room.
Oh, good job. Good job. Yeah, I tend to knit toys is kind of my thing that I like to knit. And for a while there, toys. Yeah, for a while there, I was knitting toys and giving one away free every month.
This
on my
is one of Devon's toys.
So cute.
Yeah, I don't have hardly any of them because I've basically given all the toys away that I knit. They go out in the world,
Yeah.
Right.
I remember the gargoyle.
Yes.
You actually posted the pattern.
Yeah, I made that pattern for my first urban fantasy books that came out. They had a gargoyle in it, which was really kind of the favorite character. He's kind of a big dog, really, but he's like a gargoyle. He's very fierce, but then he's also very adorable. So I made a knit pattern of Stone the Gargoyle. And that's up on Ravelry. If people on Ravelry, you can go find it. I probably need to update it, but I haven't.
Yes.
But it's workable. But yeah, I've designed a couple of patterns, but mostly I just knit for fun and knit for giving away. People have said, you should sell this stuff. And I'm like, I already got a job where I have to be creative and sell stuff. I'm not going to pick up another one.
Yeah. And if you want, it's something that makes even less money than writing novels, knitting things and selling them.
Right.
Yes.
That is, if you just count it out, the hours, what you're getting per hour, it's like totally ridiculous.
No, yeah, nobody would buy it.
Since I was an active knitter, arthritis doesn't play well with knitting needles. But when I was doing it actively, we did not have Etsy. And that has come up.
Yeah,
but,
Etsy. Yeah.
Yeah, but they take their slice of the action,
The-
and it's really hard to make money doing that. And I have friends who are quilters, and it's hard, and so
Especially
it's
if you buy good yarn.
just do it to relax, and as a crazy thing that you do. And you remind me, I have to, because this book is about sharks, I should knit a shark.
Yeah.
Yes.
I should-
Yes.
Yes.
Knit a shark.
Yes,
And
I have somewhat up here in that large bag behind me is about 2/3 of a life-size squid. The body is 6 feet long, and I fell apart at knitting the 8 tentacles 6 feet long, and the 10-foot long feeder palps. That's where I fell apart, because it's a long
they're just
knit.
too much. They take too much. Octopuses
Well, and then
mixed media. The tentacles you made to wear with your costume at Oricon.
yes,
Substitute
I'm switching over
those
to
for the.
Maybe that's what I should do. Maybe I
Yes.
should knit those tentacles. I have to think about this, but I had quit knitting this squid. But if I had finished knitting it, what I was going to do was I was going to find a friend. Somewhere I have a friend with a convertible, and pile the squid, which you understand is life size, into the convertible. And we'll find somebody, younger and more blonde than me, to sit in the driver's seat. And then wouldn't that make it? That would be just such a wonderful photograph. But I can't. I'm tired of knitting tentacle. But I could knit 3 tentacles I made tentacles out of pool noodles for Oricon. And they were too stiff. When I turned around, they tended to either knock people's glasses off or sweep things off of tabletops. They're very bad at a party. So I'm going to make them in a more soft context. And maybe knitting is the way to go. They could be striped.
Maybe bulky. Do really super bulky yarn or something. Make it.
Well, the problem is you have to stuff them somewhat to give them body. Otherwise, they're just like socks.
Crocheting is faster. So
And you get a stiffer fabric.
Yeah, you can.
I have to think about this. And do I like Fair Isle the tentacles, or are they in Tarsia? Thoughts. We have to think.
Yeah. Back to the comments. Bob posted one. His daughter used to be very, very active in ballet, and as Dan's dad, he built a lot of sets, and because he's a great carpenter, but he doesn't have to do that anymore, and that's time he can put into his writing and publishing business.
Well, a lot of the things you do for your kids, for good or for ill, they are temporary. My daughter was an athlete, and I've spent more time driving teens to athletic events than you ever want to do in your life. But then after a certain point, they get a driver's license and they can do it themselves.
Yes.
I'm willing to give her the family car, so I didn't suck the whole of every afternoon out driving down to the river. They were on the crew team, and they would row. And
my son was in orchestra.
Mine too. Both my kids.
And I spent a lot of time in the back of theaters.
Right.
But I gotta tell you, I got writing done. I took a little laptop at those times.
Yeah.
When they were doing their private practices or whatever, I would be in the car, doing this stuff, doing appointments, dentist appointments. And that's that I have a little time to write. Where can I fit it in? Kind of frame of mind.
Right.
That I'm returning to, little spaces. You get 10, you get a sentence done. That's 10 words. You get, 5 sentences done. You've got 50 words written, You
got a paragraph.
Yeah, you get a paragraph, right? Exactly. Like, 1 page is 250 words. So like little bits at a time, they do add up. So even people who are working full-time jobs, like I see some of the commenters are saying, my job sucks all my time out. I'm like, I hear you. Yep. 15 minutes on your lunch break. That's a place where you can put it in,
Yeah.
And I found it very productive to have a full-time job, because you have the whole environment of people working around you. I used to work in the National Press Building in Washington, D.C. And it's full, at that point in time, it was full of journalists. And it was very inspiring to have 13 stories of people all writing like fiends. And what was fun was there was a fire in the building once, and it wasn't anything. It was like a trash fire in the trash room. But because of it was a tall building, they turned on the fire alarms, and we all had to abandon our stuff and go down the fire stairs and stand in the sidewalks in case the building burned down. So we're all climbing down the stairs round and round in this building. And all around me are journalists. And this was before their laptop computers. They were all clutching to their chests, big sheaves of manuscript.
Mhm.
Were these stories about the Johnson administration? No, it was their novels, the
Yes.
novels that were in the desk drawer that they were working on.
Yes.
And so we're all walking, all of us were walking down the stairs, clutching our novels. You know, the story you were writing about the Congress today, it can burn. My novel. I'm carrying that.
Not with all
Ridiculous.
wise priorities.
It's
When I was in my PhD program, that was the way it was with the dissertations. Only everybody had a different way of storing them, so they couldn't get lost in a fire. So it was
right.
keep your pages in the refrigerator, keep them in the freezer, put pages put a thumb drive here and put a thumb drive there, and put printed pages there, and just get them out of your house, spread them around, have other people
email them to yourself. Then they're sitting there in the cloud.
Yeah,
Mhm.
all of that.
Yeah, or
There was a whole lot
Dropbox.
of that.
Now, thank God we have Dropbox.
Yeah. I'm annoyed with Dropbox right now, but
Okay.
that's just my personal inability to negotiate their login.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So, but are we all agreed that working as an independent writer is in the long run better than working for an established traditional?
Yeah, I will
Publishing?
make more money through indie publishing than I did through New York. And I'm not like, this isn't a horn tooting thing, but I want to put this in perspective. When I came out with my urban fantasy books, my books went to auction.
Mm-hmm.
So I got good advances for those books.
Mm-hmm.
And I will make more in indie publishing. So like, if we want to just talk money, just like money, yes. I feel like more money comes per unit sold to the author. And that is how you make more money in indie publishing.
I mean, I agree. I have friends who continue in trad publishing, but it's working for them because, they're bigger names, they get more attention, they get more support and things like that. And then they also do traveling and other things. And so it allows them to, they
have a support structure.
Yeah, it gives them their support structure so that they can write more and do stuff that way. And it works for them. So trad publishing can work for some people. It doesn't work for me.
And I'm going to say, to your point, Diana, a lot of those big trad authors, some of the friends I know and maybe you know too, they also still publish indie on the side. They'll still do indie projects on the side. So like it is something that you can do, both.
Oh, right.
Yeah, that was the way I started indie, was that there were projects I needed to do, but New York had no interest in.
Right.
But I could publish them through the Bookview Cafe. And that is one thing about that particular press is the quality. They are very geared toward doing a quality project, which is why they demand another member of the cafe do proofing and copy editing, that kind of thing. And we do cover reviews. And we workshop the back cover copy.
That is so useful. If you don't have a gift for that, holy cow. The people who are smart and who will point out to you that, you really should explain that she's the guy's sister, his sister, Louisa, just say that,
Yeah. But it gradually got to the point where the marketing committee was making editorial decisions.
They do.
And I was not getting the support I needed. And I was very lucky in being able to start with DAW because they distributed through a big major publisher. But
that's the real thing is
but the inner structure was still a small family-owned and operated publishing company. They did 4 books a month, period. So I had that good, really good support structure when I first began back in 1993. but that faded over time.
The whole of the industry, they were going with that. There's nothing you can do.
And then the other thing that's happening right now is there's the vagaries of trends, I guess, if you will, continue to always shift. And so you, as independent writers, we have the ability to pivot faster if we want to, or to change what we're doing a little bit to fit, I hesitate to say to chase trends, because let's face it, chasing trends doesn't necessarily work. It can work for people who write very fast and get their books out there quickly, and then they're part of the trend. But you can still pivot. You can plan your own career, and you can say, okay, this isn't working, so I'm going to try going this route, or this isn't working now, and I'm going to do something different. And when you're locked in to traditional publishing, it's their way or the highway type of thing, and it takes longer. On the other hand, I have had some fabulous editors. The one thing that I've given up with trad publishers is those editors that have been so amazing.
There are some visionary people, and it's sad that now it's completely driven by money.
Yeah.
They might want to publish your book, but the suits won't let them do it.
Right. I learned a tremendous amount from Sheila Gilbert at Daw.
Oh, she's wonderful.
She is wonderful. She was very good to me. I felt like I was losing a friend when I'm separated. And I still at least get Facebook birthday messages from her. But that kind of support is rare. And you hear horror stories of being orphaned in New York. Where your editor leaves, goes on to a better job elsewhere, or retires. And the incoming editor, if your book is a success, the success belongs to the previous editor. If it's a failure, it belongs to the new editor. So they cut you off at the knees. There are lots of those horror stories out there. But also, big corporations move at the speed of a three-toed sloth. And for corporate reasons, that works. In publishing, it doesn't.
What they will want you to do is, if your first hit involved, I don't know, Game of Thrones, let us say, they would really like you to write an exact same one over again and make just as much money, and you're just going to be the one trick pony, because that's the only thing they will understand. And if you say, well, but what happens if I write something different? They're not interested, because there's no guarantee that it'll make money. We're
down to 2 minutes.
Okay, yeah.
This has been fabulous.
I can't believe how fast time passes.
Thank you. Any closing comments, Diana?
I don't. Buy my books. How's that?
That's always.
What do you have any closing comments?
I don't have any closing comments. This was great fun. I just want to. I'm not sure who your audience is, but for people who might be coming here who don't know about Bookview Cafe, do you want to tell what it is?
I was a founding member back in 2008. And it is started on a Yahoo group, but it's basically
cooperative.
A cooperative publishing company of people who were disgruntled with New York, needed more than what New York could give them, and had stacks and stacks and stacks of books that were out of print because they only have a legal time in New York. So we republish our out of print books. We publish new books. We're primarily ebooks, but we do generally have print options, print on demand options. And now we are making forays into audiobooks as well. But we work as a co-op where everybody contributes some kind of sweat equity, whether it's editing, proofreading, whatever. We have a couple of, we have cover people. We have marketing people. We now have a member who really understands YouTube. So we're doing.
God bless her.
Yeah. So
speaking as persons who do not understand,
I'm not tech savvy at all. So we schedule a Zoom call. I read what I want to read, and then she edits it, and puts it up on our YouTube page.
Yes, we have a YouTube. We should probably put that up. Let me see if I can find it.
Yeah. And B Cubed has a YouTube page, which is where this conversation will show up. But everybody on Bookview Cafe is an experienced, published author. And so we know the business. We know we may not have actually done those pieces of the business, but we know what it's about.
Yeah.
And Bob is coming back. So anyway,
it has been real.
It's been fun, you guys.
Yeah. I can't believe it. We could probably do this for hours.
Yeah. So there's Bobby.
Yay.
Okay. And Brenda posted the YouTube page.
Yes, I did. And you can always wander around over onto the main Bookview Cafe page if you want to see whatever is going on. Gee willikers, there's a lot of stuff on this YouTube page. We work hard.
Right. Okay, Bob, take over. Close us out before we go off on another topic.
Oh, Lord, ma'am. I've been on panels with Brenda. I know that there's just a point where you just sit back and relax. She's going to carry it.
Man.
Yeah.
I've been known to do that too.
Yes. Well, I have to say that you guys did wonderfully. I learned a lot listening to you, and it is always good here. Half of the time here on these podcasts, it's just old friends catching up, and that's the joy of it. We have, we're just that's what BQ Press is made up of. Basically, it's just a bunch of old friends. So, thank you all for coming. Thank you, people, for viewing. Just a reminder. Southern Truths is out. One of the finest books ever written, I'm told. Oh, yeah, I said that. But wonderful writers, and we do have coming up what was originally going to be called Retribution and Revenge, a future history of the Trump administration, but now is called Alternative Liberties. And Brenda, tell us about our artists very quickly.
Which artist is this?
Jay.
This is Jay O'Connell. Yeah. He is wonderful. He has done a couple of book covers for me that completely updated. I wrote a novel, Revise the World, Time Travel and the Exploration of Antarctica. And his is much better. And this is one of Devon's ideas of putting a new cover onto an old book to see if it will do better. And it is, so he really does some very good work.
I will just say, having worked with him for the cover for this book, anybody, small press, big press, looking for a good artist, Jay O'Connell has sold me on his product. And we hope to have him on to celebrate when this book goes live, January 19th, I believe. Ooh. We're having...
the team.
Well, let's see. Phil, my brain is going dead. The Healers War. Elizabeth Ann Scarborough is going to join us. She wrote us a story for this book. And we'll have Cliff Winnig, who usually hosts that weekend, is going to be. He's working on. He's one of the editors for the book, so he is going to show up with some of the writers. And wonderful writers there are. We have Brenda Cooper. You guys all know Brenda.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and then again, we brought in from Wales. We brought a writer in from Wales,
Paula
Paula
Hammond.
Hammond.
Mm-hmm.
I just love Paula's work, and so I am excited about this book, and I'm excited about the people in it, and I'm excited about Volume 2. But I'm most excited about the nap I'm going to take after I get off. Hey, naps have been few and far between as we've worked on this book. I mean, I was joking the other day, but you look over on your desk when you're in the middle of it, and you realize there's 4 empty coffee cups and a partial pot of coffee. And you're wondering if that last inch of coffee, how long it's been there. Is there any hope that it's even vaguely warm?
If there's no green fur on the top, you're all right.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's it.
Coffee is a thing.
It's always
So,
good.
thank you all for
Okay. Next month on the first Sunday brunch, we will have Louise Marley and Nancy Jane Moore. And we will also be talking about alternative liberties.
Yeah.
Very
and
good.
we're going to have next week is also Tom Whitmore.
Oh, very good.
Tom is a Mitch, and he is going to have Janice Silverstein on there.
Lovely.
And
who's another fabulous editor.
She would have fit right in with this discussion. And because she too has had a fair amount of experience back east, like we like to say.
Yeah, she's worked for traditional publishers.
Traditional publishing. Guess what, guys? What I heard today is we are. I'm looking at the face of traditional publishing now.
Well, if you want to go back in history, traditionally this is what writers would do. This is how Dickens got A Christmas Carol out. He essentially self-published.
Mm-hmm.
And that carries you back to what, 1860 or something like that.
Dickens, he's written. What has he written that I might have heard of?
It was the best of times. It was the worst of times.
Well, that's where we are now.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you, Devon. Thank you, Diana. Thank you, Brenda. Thank you, Phil. And I'm going to end the